Okay, this is video one of your first lecture, Understanding Our Environment. And here are the learning objectives that we're going to go through. These are useful for you guys. They'll be found in every lecture at the very beginning to help you when you're going back and studying, and also to kind of, keep tabs and tell you, here's kind of what you need to walk away from this lecture having. Now, these videos by no means make up for the PowerPoints that I have already given you. So you still need to go back through those and look at those. But the videos are to kind of help emphasize the really important stuff and also help with the harder concepts and ideas. So let's get started. All right, so the title of this class, Conservation of Natural Resources, but what does that mean? A lot of us hear conservation, but I'm not sure that we all could actually define it if we were asked to. So how would we or how should we define conservation? Well, that's one of the first terms that you need to know for this class. So, conservation. The term conservation, or the definition of conservation, excuse me as I flip through my notes here, is the sustainable use of resources. Now, notice I didn't say preserving resources. Okay, a lot of people think of preservation when we think of conservation, or setting it aside and not touching it. And that's a part of it, definitely, but it's not the whole thing. Another definition of conservation, let's underline that here, is using or managing resources wisely. Using or managing resources wisely so that they are available for future generations of humans. So that they are available, or we can write available to humans in the long run. In the long run. Okay, in other words, there is a very strong human component to the definition, and I think a lot of us don't necessarily think about humans when we think of conservation, but it's a very important part of conservation. Humans are the reason that we need to have conservation of resources, and so there is a really strong component. All right, so these photos were some of the first photos or first pictures of Earth from space that were available to the public. Available to public. And their importance, and first off, by the way, they came as a result of the Apollo 8 mission, which was these astronauts flew to the moon. This is the moon, by the way, this oops, mom, not mom, moon, the very desolate moon. And this picture in particular is pretty important because you can see how desolate and dead the moon is compared to this little, let me change my, oops, my color so we can see it, compared to this very life-giving circle floating out here. So that was a very important realization for a lot of people. And basically, it helped people realize that the Earth was very limited. You know, we had seen it as this giant, huge, limitless resource, but actually, when you back out into space and take a look, you can see that it's kind of almost like a floating island. And to the best of our knowledge, Earth is very unique, and there aren't really any other planets or stars that have what Earth does. So once we destroy Earth, there really isn't any place for us to go. Like in WALL-E, where they're hanging out on a giant spaceship until they can fix it. We don't really have that option as of yet. So the take-home picture on the Apollo 8 photos of Earth was that this was the major realization on the public's part that our resources are limited. are limited. All right. And the photos from Apollo 8 of Earth kind of sparked what we now term the modern environmental movement. And this is kind of where we started protecting our resources and regulating the use of them. Protecting and regulating. We, of course, came up with the first Earth Day, and we end up with the Endangered Species Act, the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, CAA. And we're going to talk about all these different acts as we go through the semester. But the modern environmental movement was kind of this, was the trigger, was the result of the trigger of the Apollo 8 photos. All right, another term that we need to define is environment. What exactly does environment mean? Well, the environment, most people think of it as just the natural world, out in nature, but it is a lot more than that. So our environment is made up of all the living and the non-living things around us. Things around us with which we interact. So what exactly does that mean? Well, so it includes, not just plants and animals. It includes a lot of things. We have, here, let's make a list. Let's go to the next one. So as far as the living, we've got animals, plants, fungus, fungi, bacteria, the little teeny tiny things that you don't really think about. And then, of course, the non-living. This is the more complex part, because within non-living, you have the natural non-living things, weather, rocks, what else? Clouds, continents. Let's go with continents. And then you have the built environment, or the non-natural. Okay, this is the things that humans have created. So we've got buildings, cities, streets. Okay, so just because it's something that's man-made and is, artificial basically, does not mean it's not part of your environment. You interact with it, therefore it is a part of your environment. And of course, we also have social institutions. And relationships. So the people with which you interact, you've got friends and family. They're part of your environment. They influence you. Your government is part of your environment. Okay, they regulate, they have a lot of rules regulating how you use your resources. So this is all part of your environment. So it's really important to keep this definition in mind throughout the semester, made up of the living and the non-living. That's kind of the key there. Okay. Now, basically, humans alter the Earth's natural systems. We alter our environment, and you can see pictures over here. On this one, we have air pollution, looks like LA, right? Here we've got some trash floating in the water. And then, of course, we also can do good things. We can put on solar panels outside our home and create green energy. We can recycle and reuse things. So, we alter Earth's natural systems quite a bit, and we use environmental science as a tool to find out ways of lessening our impact on the natural world and maintaining it to be a certain healthy standard level. So environmental science is very important. It's also very broad. Okay, it includes lots of disciplines. And you can read about these in your book. There are, the social aspects of it. So you have social sciences, you have biological sciences, you have chemistry going on. You have all kinds of disciplines that all focus in and come into making a difference in solving environmental problems. So environmental science isn't just one thing. And that's the neat thing about this class is that we kind of get to hit on lots of different disciplines, and it's not all, all chemistry where you're just going to mostly look at molecules. I think that's why a lot of students are drawn to this class. Okay, we're going to pause here, and the next video we'll pick up where we left off.